О, отлично, все заработало. Ну, простите за задержку, у нас некоторые организационные трудности. Значит, у нас сейчас планируется панельная дискуссия. Что это такое? У нас есть наши уважаемые гости, они очень хорошо разбираются в Scrum Agile, как вы, наверное, догадываетесь по тем сессиям, в которых вы присутствовали. И наверняка у вас есть вопросы, на которые могут ответить только такие крутые гуру. Вот, если у вас есть такие вопросы, самое время их задать и посмотреть, как по-разному они смогут ответить на эти вопросы. Если им удастся задать такой вопрос, на который они ответят по-разному, это будет очень круто, согласны? Посмотрим, смогут ли они эту проблему решить друг с другом. В любом случае, если у вас что-то болит, если у вас какие-то проблемы или просто какой-то вопрос, который вас интересует, задавайте. Ребятам, у кого есть перевод, переведем, у кого нет перевода, в общем разберемся по ходу. Вопросы мы стараемся, хочется, чтобы они касались Agile или хотя бы разработки программного обеспечения, в остальном мы никак вас не ограничим. Про Крым только не задавайте. Все-таки черт не вышел, да? Окей, значит, итак, кто не боится первый задать вопрос? Да, я представлю честно. Дарья Жейн. Представься сам.
Меня зовут Никита Филиппов. Я работаю
Давид Андерсон. Вы хотите, чтобы я объяснил? Just give me. Ахмед Ситки и Сергей Дмитриев. Окей, you have questions, вопросы. Илья первый поднял руку, я просто показал, что он первый поднял.
Well, I have a question. Maybe kind of targeted to David. I read your fantastic blue book on Kanban, and actually I have a question. Is Kanban better than Scrum? That's the neat question, you know? And if there is a not straightforward answer to this question, then when it is better than Scrum?
Скрам лучше ли скрам, чем канбан? Канбан лучше, чем скрам? И если лучше, то где, когда и почему?
I don't think it's ever appropriate to ask better. What you need to ask is whether something's fit for its purpose and whether it's appropriate in its context. And Ken Schwaber was really very clear that in his view Scrum was designed to work, and it was designed to work in a context, and your challenge for making it work in your organisation is to change the context of your organisation to be appropriate and suitable for Scrum. So if you're going to pursue the adoption of Scrum, you need to say to yourself, what context did Ken design this for, and are we capable of modifying our organisation to fit that context? And are we capable of modifying our relationships with customers or suppliers in order to fit that context? And if that's true, then that's an appropriate choice. The Kanban approach is the opposite philosophy. It says start with what you do now, your context is what it is, and apply Kanban to that context and look to improve it in order to make it fitter for purpose based on whatever your customers consider appropriate levels of service. That might be lead time, it might be quality, it might be predictability. But if those things aren't good enough, then look to improve them. And there is clearly going to be an opinion about whether you can get there from where you are now, or whether you need to do some sort of radical change, some dramatic change in your organisation. And the Kanban approach is not about that. It's not about radical change. It's about evolution to get you where you need to be. And something like Scrum is about revolution. It's about changing the context that you're living in. And you need to decide which is the better fit for you.
Thank you. Do you want that answer?
So I'll just quickly jump in and add to what David said. I agree with what he said, but I also feel that process, whatever process or framework you choose, is really a placebo. It is not the thing that will make you successful. It's a placebo. So whatever you pick any, in my opinion, doesn't matter so much, right? It's really a placebo to get people to think what they're doing and to change behavior.
Should we
Let's Sergey ask, and then we will move to the next question.
I would also say you can consider the level of pain you get when you start. If you draw a diagram of time versus pain, with Scrum you will get all the pain up front, which hopefully gradually will go down. With Kanban, you will get the same level of pain, but later, right? You'll start slowly. You'll start slowly, but if you are serious about those changes, you will end up with the same level of pain. And yeah, I agree with David. It's just very context dependent. Choose what's right.
Yeah, just one more thing that it looks like it's Scrum and Kanban at different levels of use. If you want to bake a cake, the Scrum fits better. But if you want to build a cake factory, I think you should see the whole. But it's very hard to compete with your ideas because he's an author of this approach. So, but this is my opinion because it looks like Scrum more fits in some steps in Kanban process, and it's more about production. But Kanban is more about process improvement in general. That's it.
Thank you. Еще вопросы есть? Да, вопрос.
Now we actually clearly define the context for Scrum and that. You actually have to kind of elaborate on that. So later in this session, we definitely know here, in this case, we should use Kanban, and in this case, the experts recommend to use Scrum.
So guys, you are experts. You're supposed to have clear answer to that question. Probably you know it, you just name it. Here you guys use Kanban or Scrum. Anybody want to answer?
There's something about that question that's bothering me. and the reason is, I think, at least I believe you guys would agree with me, we want to get people to think in their context, because the context always is changing. So I think to even answer that and put a checklist, 1, 2, 3, 4, is at least for me what I'm trying to avoid to do with people, is to put, to reenact the industrial age kind of mindset. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, then do this, right? And to say, understand the principles of these methodologies, understand the practices, and then look at what makes sense for your context and apply and keep changing it, right? As the context change, inspect and adapt and keep changing that context till probably what I've seen in successful adoptions is people take a combination of these different approaches and create something that makes sense for them that I believe you shouldn't copy and paste in other companies, but it makes sense for them. It's from my point of view, that's agility.
I would agree, and I would say, guys, it's about both processes are empirical process, right? So actually, it doesn't matter what you start with. Go with whatever hits your fancy. Take Scrum, start. It's empirical process. Do it, see the results, tweak it, tune it, right? And maybe you will end up with something in between, like that's it. Maybe you're gonna find something which is totally different, but it's yours. And I would say it doesn't matter. Just do. Remember, if what you do is complex. And this is important, because that's where you need Agile. As long as you get those Agile values underneath, the tools doesn't matter. They become secondary.
В общем, общий ответ такой. Когда вы решите, что лучше, Android или iPhone, можете еще раз задать этот вопрос.
Я просто тогда уже. Fast answer, just start with Kanban and do whatever else. Go down to Scrum, do XP, whatever, but just do something to see a whole system, and after that implement what you want by Agile values.
So, это был прямой ответ Kanban. Отлично. Еще вопросы есть? Только не тот же, ладно, потому что...
Trying to do Scrum, some fun, something, and well, lots of people
you are qualifying your way to people which are like who are not simply good. Are there any answers to this?
You guys get it? It was kind of long question with a lot of actual questions.
The question is, you are talking about Scrum now, but
what about people what?
Another conference, find the real answers now.
Real answer to what question? The real question is how to deal with people. How to sell ideas about Scrum, Kanban, whatever. Правда? Спасибо. Вопрос в чем? Okay, how to deal with, basically how to deal with resistance. Well, that was the question. How to deal with resistance and some kind of that stuff.
So I guess what you're trying to highlight is we're talking about Scrum or Kanban or whatever. It is still about processes and tools, while everywhere we see individuals and interactions over processes and tools. So what happens to individuals? And individuals have resistance. So how do you deal with individuals? Because you want individuals to follow the process that you think is the best process. I guess the easiest way to change people is to lead by example. That's the easiest way to change people, in my opinion. Still, a lot of people will not change, but don't worry.
You still have a choice. Just as Sergey says always, that you always have a choice. Just try to change it or leave it. So there is no any options.
For me, I believe it's about education and awareness and having people learn. And again, I repeat this every time I go because I really believe that it's something we're avoiding because it takes time and we don't see, a lot of organizations just don't see the value. And I want to make sure people understand this is not about training. This is about education. If you're really wanting to get people to understand why they should do Scrum or Kanban or any other process. And to your point, it's not about the process, it's about them changing the way they think. Well, how are you going to do that? You can't force someone to change the way they think. You have to bring awareness, you have to give examples, you have to educate them. And I believe what Sergey was talking about, get them to start something is so that they can learn through the hands-on experience. But it's about learning.
I have another thing to you guys, it's kind of a hint that you need to sell using the language of those people you talk to. So don't try to go to your CEO and talk your technical mambo jumbo to him. Switch your language. So if you are selling it upwards, you sell differently to CE4 or CEO. Use their language. Use their pain points. We say usually, find what's really painful for them. Ask, hey, dude, what is your problem with me as a development manager or whatever? And he will tell you a lot, right? He will tell you, guys, you deliver late, you are always over budget and a lot of stuff, and say, hey, I can solve it to you. So don't sell Scrum, don't sell Kanban, but find the pain points, and they are all different for different people you talk to. And the same goes if you are trying to sell to your colleagues, right? Don't sell to a programmer with some, I don't know, big high-level stuff. Sell with easy things that they can understand and which are painful to them.
Self-focus really.
I hear a lot of disturbing things. The most disturbing of which is that the words Kanban and process have appeared in almost every sentence from everyone who's spoken, including all my colleagues on the floor here. Did anyone hear me call Kanban a process during my keynote speech this morning? It is not a process. There is no such thing as the Kanban process. I actually had a slide that said it is not a software development lifecycle process. It is not a project management process. Kanban systems are part of a management method. Now to get back to your real question, how do you get people to pay attention to running their businesses better? That's the real issue. And something like Agile software development is dealing with one small piece in the middle there, and you're worried about the bigger picture. How do you run your business better? How do you get other people in the organization to change their behavior? The key ingredient is leadership. There has to be someone that shows leadership in your company that says, we actually care about delivering better customer service. And we care about understanding what our customers want, and we care about measuring whether we're delivering that or not. And from that, the act of leadership should echo down through the ranks so that people understand we care about customer service and we need to manage our business better in order to deliver it. Which is why I said this earlier, the Starbucks down the street is better managed than your IT organisation, because they know what business they're in and they understand what customer service is. And they take action in order to improve that customer service. So it is an education issue, it is a training issue, but fundamentally it's a leadership issue. Someone in the company, presumably senior, has to communicate that we actually care about running this business better and improving customer service. And in order to do that, we need to manage our business better. That then leads logically to the next conclusion that it would be a good idea to give our managers some management training.
Thank you. Yes, questions from
Okay. On most of the illustrations I've seen software testing being part of the process, and it's a separate. Why do you move your tickets to software testing column in Kanban? Why do you still have this? Because I think that software testing is a part of doing the ticket, doing the issue, and I can't tell if I'm done unless I have tested it. And it's really weird to see in 2014 we still have software testing as a separate thing there. Why do we still have this?
Pretty concrete, detailed question.
So this is a question based on the wrong premise. It's based on the premise that you think Kanban is a process. The reason that there's a testing column on a Kanban board is because there must be a testing activity in that particular business. And you need to go and visit that particular company and ask them, why are you still doing testing as a separate activity? Kanban is about starting with what you do now and visualizing it, and the pragmatic recognition that things are the way they are and wishing them to be different is just wishful thinking.
Окей, еще вопросы? Давайте. Давайте.
У нас достаточно гибкая разработка, быстрые релизы, постоянно выкладываем фичи, и некоторые фичи от того, как она была придумана заказчиком, до того, как она появилась на бою, может пройти сутки, может пройти неделя, бывает дольше, бывает сильно дольше, но иногда бывает быстро. Это приносит очень много боли, потому что фичи выкатываются не готовые. То есть они выкатываются, она готовая, она даже может быть протестированная, но она либо не укладывается, либо она конфликтует с чем-нибудь, либо она протестирована плохо, либо она должна была быть сделана быстро, и поэтому ее вообще не тестировали. Собственно говоря, я не знаю, можно ли это назвать Agile, вопрос в чем? Как сделать более жесткую разработку и... Не реагировать так гибко на требования заказчика.
Зачем более жестко?
Окей, предыдущий вопрос был про зачем нужно тестирование, здесь исторический вопрос, я так понимаю.
So the question is...
Okay guys, they have a kind of development when they start feature. When as soon as the development is done, they push it into production. And sometimes it's painful because it might not work. Because it's like, as far as I understand, nobody tests it really well. Yes, but they are really fast. So he said like, I think if you're talking about pain, there is a real pain. Because he doesn't like it. He wanted to be tested. And the question is, again, I forgot the question. How to make it more rigid, right? He wanted to add testing back that was removed by Maximus, for as I understand. But how to do that? I know how to do that. Well, maybe. Yes.
So you have a development process where you develop stuff and you push it and it goes into production.
We are testing, but if we have time, we test it. If we not have time, we don't.
So
It's
if
okay
I
to have no time every time.
if I understand correctly, you start at the top of your editor, you start writing code, and then you commit code, and it's gone into production. I have never ever seen anyone do that.
Oh, you gotta be kidding. Everybody does that.
You never read what you did. You don't read what you are writing. You just start typing and then you're done. You check in code. You are testing when you are reading your code.
Does your
Right? Do you read your code before you commit?
Reading code,
Do you check? Do you check if I?
code, we are test feature by project manager. But if we don't have time, feature will be on production. It will be tonight on production.
Okay.
Then the unit will test it. It's okay.
And that's perfectly fine. What's the problem? Is your company gone out of business?
It's good for business in evening. It's morning, business go to office, see the feature don't work, and all have pain.
Why do you have pain when your features don't work? They are expected to be.
The point I'm trying to make is I work for a company that they got me in to, I work for a company which was a very successful company in India. They valued at $350 million. They got me in because they said we don't have a process. People just check in code, it goes to production, we have no clue. We lose sometimes thousands of dollars because we have not done any tests and we need a more rigid process. Not rigid process, but we need some kind of a structure around this madness in our company. So they got me in. Yeah, so don't get me in because what I'm going to suggest is what you already know. So I spent 2 years at this company and in the end basically my conclusion was that your nature of business, right, like the nature of business in which those guys were, I don't know about your company, but the nature of business those guys were in can deal with that stuff and it works fine for them and they release stuff and it is broken. The speed of putting something out there was so much more valuable to them that they could deal with bugs, they could deal with issues in the infrastructure. So the point I'm trying to make is we need to look at the bigger ecosystem and see what the business wants and decide whether you need more structure, whether it's process, it's a framework, whether it's a bunch of tricks and techniques, or the way it is working now is fine and you need to improve those things rather than saying you need a structure to be put in or a process to be put in.
Я правильно понял, it's good for business, so do it this way.
Можно как бы вопрос... Можно я на русском отвечу, поскольку вопросы значит. Итак, две ситуации. Есть полная жесть. Она связана есть два состояния в любой разработке. Полная победа бизнеса и это то, что у тебя происходит. Полная победа бизнеса это когда все ради какой-то бизнес-цели, без оглядки на обратный результат. Вторая картина, это называется, это то, куда ты стремишься, не знаю насколько, это называется победа разработки. Еще называется водопадная разработка, когда это полная победа разработки, когда пока все не будет записано в спецификации, пока все не будет протестировано, пока, мы ничего делать не будем. Выкатывать в конечном счете, да.
Чуть-чуть ближе к этому, чуть-чуть ближе.
Ситуация такая, и это никогда не изменится. Есть один очень простой закон. Хочешь решить проблему, визуализируй ее. Люди принимают решения, потому что сейчас выглядит так, что бизнес не понимает, какие будут последствия. Сейчас он их не чувствует, потому что, видимо, выход все-таки на продакшн и истерика в понедельник утром устраивает их. Вопрос только в том, тебе нужно показать, есть какая-то динамика в потере, например, того, что в понедельник у вас 2 часа не работал сервер, потеряли ли вы деньги. Посмотри, сколько раз это было за месяц, сколько это было за полгода, сколько мы потеряли уже. А самое главное, ты знаешь, как программист, чем больше ты вводишь таких костылей, тем сложнее разрабатывать дальше. Но все эти вещи, возвращаясь к предыдущему вопросу, нужно коммуницировать бизнесу на языке бизнеса. Он должен понимать, сколько денег он потеряет от того, что он чересчур гибкости вносит. Должен быть баланс. У вас должно быть время на фиксы и рефакторинг, у них должно быть время на смену приоритетов, да, там, срочные задачи. Вторая вещь, она более сложная. Как правило, это симптом быстрого, постоянно что-то нужно сделать быстро. Это значит, что у компании нет текущего продуктового видения, они себя ищут. Если это происходит 5 дней, это нормально, да? Если это происходит месяц, это нормально. Если вы уже 3 года так живете, то значит, как бы, это уже симптом для компании. Его нужно выправлять.
Растем в 2-3 раза в год, резко не хватает.
И это показывает то, что потери, которые сейчас есть, устраивают людей. Возможно, они их не видят, покажи их. Но пока люди не почувствуют, никто не решает проблемы программиста, они решают только свои проблемы. Как только бизнес поймет, что это его проблема, появится разговор о том, что почему нужна меньшая гибкость.
Последний маленький вопрос. Где можно посмотреть примеры визуализации? Ну, какой-нибудь пример, чтобы на пальцах показали, как вот и происходит.
Ну смотри, есть очень простой пример. Можно построить типичный график количества релизов и количества роста багов. Количество релизов и замедление, например, как бы исправление старых ошибок. Надо посмотреть, какие зависимости есть. И там точно есть корреляция. Чем больше кривых деплоев, тем больше ошибок. Чем больше кривых деплоев, тем дольше мы разрабатываем все новые фичи. Это как-то должно происходить. Надо посмотреть, ты сам должен это сейчас чувствовать. Если у вас есть какая-нибудь жира, то вы можете вытащить это и промоделировать. Customer feedback говорит о том, насколько мы успешны как бизнес. Ну и что, если ты растешь 2 раза в год, значит customer feedback окей. Ну да, они жалуются. Кто-нибудь играет в доту? Есть такие люди? И это самый важный продукт в мире. И, Valve делает, это самый важный продукт, но они успешны. Им, ну, пофигу. До тех пор, пока это не станет болезнью. Вот и все.
Next question, please. Yes, sir.
Было ли у вас какое-то заблуждение в отношении Agile, от которого вы отказались за последнее время? Если такое было, то что это было и почему отказались?
Great question, sir. I'd love to answer your answer. Again, the question was, do you have any misconception? You changed mind recently about Agile, something that you have changed mind about. And you think a different way. Can you name it and explain it? It's a powerful question.
It's not recent because it's been about 4 or 5 years since I've done quote-unquote agile development. I moved on in some sense, but I used to be a very big believer in test-driven development, and it's been 4 years since I've written a single test. And I've deployed products and I've made millions of dollars.
Грустно узнать тем, кто будет читать класс по ТДД. Any other answer, guys? So your knowledge about Agile is quite solid, right? Your knowledge about Agile is quite solid. You haven't changed your mind recently, or in like a few years.
Not recently.
Not recently, but maybe in some time.
I mean, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. I think again, it wasn't recent for me, but the focus people have as they scale on Agile, being on strategy, structure, and process. Most people are talking about that constantly and forgetting, again, the human element, whether it be leadership or people. And I think that's been something I've been very focused on, which is just, it's not about strategy, structure, and process. It's about people, and to get sustainable Agile, you need to change the way people think, not change the process or structure or strategy.
I've probably got one recent Kanban one, but I'll go back to 2010 when I was at the XP conference in Trondheim in Norway, and I was sitting with Joshua Kerievsky, who's a well-known exponent of extreme programming. the epiphany that we had at that point was often we'll have said this many times before, software development is a knowledge discovery process. And the assumption in most Agile software development is that the way you discover that knowledge is through writing tests and doing testing. And that tends to turn into a dogma, that people believe that Agile software development has to be about writing tests and doing testing. And if you move up a level and just say to yourself, what activity can we perform to very cheaply and quickly buy ourselves good quality information, then you can free yourself of that dogma. You can free yourself of the only way to acquire knowledge is through testing, and it becomes okay to start doing other things. Some of those other things may have gone out of fashion, so it doesn't make you look terribly trendy. You're definitely not an Agile hipster, but you might be improving the performance of your business by finding other ways of discovering information. And so we are justifying doing different things. Maybe it's okay to do some analysis. Maybe it's okay to do some old-fashioned design rather than writing tests, as long as you can show that it buys you information and it moves you forward towards the goal of having something that's deliverable. So that's the first one. Second one, very recent epiphany in the Kanban community. We'd always been very scared of giving scale-free advice about how you scale Kanban in organizations. And the reason we were very scared of it was something called the Scrum of Scrums. A largely debunked idea at this point, because the concept of Scrum of Scrums generically is known in network science or mathematics as a scale-free solution. It's the idea that if Scrum works at the team level, if you can define teams at any level in your organization, then Scrum would work at any level, as long as you can perceive of this group of people as a team. Well, that didn't work so well, and it largely didn't work well because the definition of a team is a group of people collaborating together on a single goal, or the same goal. And generally in organizations with a structural hierarchy, it looks like a scale-free problem, but it's not, because as you move up through the levels in the hierarchy, those people are not all working together collaboratively on the same goal. But just very recently, we did discover a scale-free piece of guidance for Kanban, how to get from personal Kanban to slightly larger sort of aggregated personal Kanban, or what we call proto-Kanban, to a full service delivery Kanban like I presented today, to scaled out across a whole business unit or a whole company, a whole network of Kanban systems. What you do is you look for unbounded or infinite queues, and every time you find one, you try to figure out how to make it a bounded, limited queue with a Kanban limit on it. And every time you achieve that, you couple bits of your organization together so that they're no longer independent. There's no longer some unbounded infinite queue in between the processes. And the result is that service delivery gets better, that lead times get better, they get more predictable. As a result, customer service is better, the business is better, it's fitter for purpose. And we have some confidence that this is genuinely trustworthy, scale-free guidance. And in some ways that's a huge breakthrough, because I would have predicted, and I spent several years telling people there is no scale-free solution for Kanban. Personal Kanban, service delivery Kanban, portfolio Kanban, they're three different animals that you don't Kanban of Kanbans. So we've had some insight there recently, and it was interesting to discover that.
Guys, any... Okay, yes. Other questions? Okay.
I recently heard about a fancy new thing called Scaled Agile Framework, or SAFE. I'm not sure what E stands for. So I would like to ask the experts, what is your take on this, and when is this appropriate? Thank you.
Who's going to answer?
I just don't like it. It's looked like a regional unified process on the new bookshelf.
So I've blogged on this, and it's kind of a world famous or infamous blog post, along with one that Ken Schwaber did, and perhaps one or two others. I've got one focused comment, which is Kanban appears in the Skilled Agile framework, and it appears in a way that no one in the Kanban community recognizes. Where in Skilled Agile framework, Kanban is used for sequencing projects in a portfolio using a Kanban limit. And no one doing portfolio Kanban sets a Kanban limit for the projects and pulls them one after another. That's nonsensical. There's a really good presentation on that topic by Pavel Brodzinski from Krakow at the Lean Kanban United Kingdom conference in London last year. That video is available if you're interested. My general comment about Skilled Agile framework is it's clearly designed to appeal to people, particularly more senior executives. It's a really good piece of marketing. The reason it appeals to people is it comes with the notion that it solves all your problems, all you do is install it. And the assumption is that everyone in your workplace is a silicon-based life form who only thinks about things logically and says, oh, logically this must work, let's do it. There's absolutely no assumption that people will resist the installation of it. And therefore, for me, it's a throwback to 12 years ago when I saw large-scale Agile adoption being resisted at companies like Sprint and Motorola. And that drove me down a different path, the path to finding an incremental evolutionary approach that allowed you to improve at the speed where people would come along for the ride. So I'm sure SAFe will be extremely successful in the market, that a lot of executives will pay a lot of money to try and install it in their organizations, and it remains to be seen whether it will still be there 2, 3, 4 years from now.
My opinion on this is it's extremely unsafe. It's very dangerous because it's a beautiful picture that attracts, as David was saying, people to, again, stop thinking and just say, okay, beautiful, I don't have to think, just install it, right? So it's, now, when you look at some processes like Scrum, that's happening at a team level, and recovering that is an inspect and adapt on a team level. When you talk about try to do that on an organizational level, it could be very disastrous.
I would join myself to the guys in the panel. I went, as a certified trainer, I went to the training to learn about the enemy. So what I discovered is actually, yes, it's a very good sell. I'm sure that it will sell very good on the market because it's an easy sell to executives because it takes their pain points and tells that this is going to be solved. There are a lot of actually very good tools inside. So if you go to the training, I don't think you would be disappointed. At the same time, I don't think it's going to work. And, I mean, it's not just take it and install. So there, I completely agree with the guys and everything which is said.
Could it be a path to implementing a correct Agile without all this buzzwords?
What is
Through selling through executive or SAFe?
Before we jump on, I do want to answer. I think the panel here is very biased, without any disrespect to any individual. I think it's very biased. You're only hearing one side of the story. I'm not a proponent of SAFe. I hate SAFe as much as I hate Scrum, as much as I hate Agile. I think, as I made it very clear at the beginning, they're all just placebo. But to give credit to SAFe, as these friends have said here, that it's a good marketing piece. To me, Scrum was exactly the same. It was a beautiful marketing piece. It got a whole bunch of people into this, and hopefully through that process, they discovered where they wanted to go. So my hope, I'm pragmatic, I'm optimistic. My hope is that it will get people to think about some of the things by getting them into it.
So I love it too because when it crashes and burns, those organizations will come to us to learn about Kanban.
Ahmed told tomorrow about the difference between doing Kanban and being Kanban, and you all guys consult and visit many teams, companies worldwide. How can you estimate the ratio between teams who doing Kanban and being Kanban, if they are teams which are doing which are Kanban, oh sorry, yeah, and if you can, are there some geographical features of it? I don't know. So maybe people in Russia makes or are agile in other way as people in India or in America. Thank you.
Thank you. Who wants to answer?
If I understand the question correctly, how do you know when someone's doing it or someone's being it? Is that a summary or that's not?
How can you estimate how much companies? So 5%, 10%.
Oh, how many companies are truly being versus? Ugh. 5.
I think the origin of this is Ahmed probably quoted or referenced something, a number of speeches I gave at usually conferences in America, and the topic was stop doing Agile, and instead you have to improve your agility, or you have to be Agile as a business. And therefore the question you're asking is, how many people are just doing the practices and claiming we're Agile, versus actually living the idea of improving the agility of their business?
And again, I don't know what the number is, but I can tell you there's a lot of people that aren't waving the Agile flag that are they have organizational agility, and there are people that have, I think, successfully learned by doing and have become more agile. But I would say the overwhelming majority of organizations I've met are stuck in the doing, without understanding anything about the mindset behind it.
If, for example, you looked at a firm like IMVU, where the lean startup movement began, you would say that they have a lot of agility. They were not inspired by the Agile software development movement. That would be one example. And yet there are probably lots of companies that claim we are agile, and they're really not exhibiting a lot of business agility. And I'm not meeting that many middle managers that even know or care that that's an issue, but I do meet plenty of senior managers, and what they care about is, I want our business agility to improve because our market is moving very quickly, and if we're not agile, we won't survive in a changing market. So they think that way, and then they hear there's this thing called Agile software development, and someone says, oh, you join those two dots together and then all your problems are solved. So they buy it, they buy into it in a big scale often, and it doesn't produce the outcome they want because they lose their focus on how do we measure our agility.
I think it's a wrong question to the wrong set of people. All of us get called into companies who want to do Agile. That's what my belief is. I think a lot of us get called in when companies want to do Agile, right? Companies who are already doing stuff that is making them very successful in the agility sense. I'm not going to call us saying, hey, can you come over and help us get more Agile? Because they don't care about it. They're already doing stuff. So, you were not going to get a true representative number from the panel over here, in my opinion.
So, just one little comment. Oh, sorry. So, the point is only one metrics you should have to understand your good enough agility and how it looks like. Does your business succeed, and does your customers are happy? So 2 points, and if answer is yes, so it's good enough agility for everything. No, we don't care about people in Russia.
Okay, guys, thank you very much for your question. This is the end of our panel discussion. Let's say thank you to our... Thank you guys for coming. Thank you very much for answering all these questions. Some of them were really interesting, some of them were really interesting.